Go ahead, Barry.
Hello, everybody. Hello. This is a special edition of Indie Vault, where Rob has drugged me into it. No. We planned this show. Originally, it was going to be on Rob's network, but he's been having some computer problems. Started about 4 days ago. Computer problems. Yeah. So he asked me if I can move it over to Indie Vault. I was willing to do that. So we're here. This is the panel where Rob's been talking about it. He wants to have a debate.
Well, not a debate, a discussion.
A discussion, that's right. I'm sorry. A discussion between people who are pro ComicsGate and I guess it would be fair to say not ComicsGate or anti-ComicsGate.
I asked for SJWs. We did have someone who identifies as moderate. I'm going to let everyone come in and tell who they are. It's to say who they are. This whole thing is because everyone wants to talk negatively about ComicsGate. So I said, well, I have a problem with people taking shots and running away. So I asked Varian, I was like, what do you think about this concept? And me and Varian have been talking about making a show that I have on his network. And I've always wanted to do something where we called a topic out and we really got honest about it. That's what today's about. Today's about getting bare bones honest, not name calling, listening to each other, and actually having an honest to God conversation with different people from different walks of life and maybe seeing if we can get somewhere. We're actually going to call the show The Devil's Advocate. And believe it or not, Varian's going to play the angel. You know what I'm going to play.
And I think that in light of everything that's going on right now, we planned this show months ago. About a month ago, we had no idea what was going on today would be happening. So, I mean, you're seeing two different sides of a situation. We're trying to create a discussion so we don't get to that point here in comicdom, at least.
Yeah, and understand we're not trying to talk about that today. This will not be a show about that. This is about comic books. Our hearts go out, and I'm sure Varian agrees with me, and Indie Vault and Comic Book Advocates, our heart goes out to everyone who has been affected by the recent events. Yeah. And we are with you. We stand with you, and we can only move forward from here.
Right. And there was even, I don't know if we should discuss it. We even thought about maybe not even doing the show today because of everything that was going on.
But I was watching CNN at midnight giving Varian a whole conversation he never had to be part of.
It was but we so I'm glad that we're decided to do it because one, distraction, two, it's important. So with that said, I'm gonna run the disclaimer. There it is.
You want me to give you the announcer voice?
Yeah, go ahead.
Disclaimer. The opinions expressed in the following broadcast are not necessarily those of Indie Vault Media LLC, its staff, contributors, or sponsors. Viewer discretion is advised.
Sorry, I do that. Okay, I'm gonna roll the intro, and we'll come back in and bring our guests and let them introduce themselves. Here we go.
Hello, how's it going, everyone? My name is Eric Hodson. I am participating in this debate today, I guess as a representative of CG, although I've got friends on both sides of the aisles, people that I ultimately have nothing but respect for. Full disclosure, I also work for Indie Vault. Well, I don't get paid, but I do things for Varian, our gracious host. And very happy to be here, and hopefully we'll have a productive discussion and build bridges and not burn them. Take it away, Ian.
Hello, guys. It's nice to meet you. I know Josh from Facebook, but that's about it. I guess I'm representing the SJWs. I don't really consider myself one. I am a liberal. I side with anti-ComicsGate, I guess. So I was dumb enough to say something in Rob's Facebook post, so here I am defending myself.
Welcome,
guys, though, and yeah, I second it. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's good to meet you guys. So
same here, brother.
Same here.
Same here.
Let's follow the line, Josh.
Hey, my name's Josh Dahl. I sometimes write comics, make comics, edit. I teach comic writing. I do some other stuff. I'm on the side of SJW. I hope to always be on the side of SJW in all aspects of my life. But obviously, I'm here to talk about what we're here to talk about.
Sweet. And I'm Sim. I'm the creator of Blood Hunt on Tales from the Nadverse, Not the Merc. I'm also part of CG Jumpstart, and I'm CG. And I'm happy to be here and to meet all you guys. And let's have a nice conversation.
Right on. Nice to meet you, Sim.
JD.
Nice to meet you, Sim. My name is JD Calderon, and I'm the writer and creator of the Oswald Chronicles and Tall Tales. I've been an indie publisher since 1991. I currently have a show where I interview various creators of indie comics. And I'll be honest with you, I'm neither an SJW or ComicsGate. I'm in the middle. I just want to focus on indie comics. I don't really care about anybody's debates. I'm about indie comics. I'm old school. I'm from a time when none of this stuff existed. I just want to talk about comics. I just really do. You understand? I mean, you have your politics. Listen, I'm Hispanic. I got my battles within the culture too. But you know what? I don't bring them up. It's just about comics for me. I love indie comics, and I wanted to get back to that. But, we can go about that later.
Here. Anthony,
Yeah, you're
my
right.
man.
Hey, my name is Anthony Figueroa. I'm the creator of the God's Hand universe. My book God's Hand is currently on Indiegogo and in demand. You can pick it up. I am ComicsGate, or I am a part of ComicsGate. I don't want that to be taken the wrong way. From New Orleans, I've been making comics since about 2003, and I am highly inappropriate. I try not to be, but my sense of humor is juvenile at best, and I'm here in good faith to talk about things that I think matter to everybody here. And I think that if we can sit down and we can talk, I think we can figure out that we have a lot more in common than we have different. And so I hope at the end of the day, that's what we walk away from this with more similarities than differences.
All right. So thank you all for coming here, of course. And before we get started, just so everyone knows who's watching, we have been given everyone the same rules. There's no different rules. We're going to give everyone 2 minutes to discuss a topic point. And after that 2 minutes is up, the person who is speaking will let another person speak. I don't think that's a hard concept. It's going to keep things going. Everyone has agreed to it. And like I said, this is not meant to be divisive. What I will ask is everyone mute their mic until they're called on. This will stop. If anyone says anything, they won't. And if you can't mute it, we can have Varian mute it for you. But this way, no one's talking over, because we don't want anyone to talk over. So I'm going to start off. We're going to go around the room. We're going to start with Ian. Ian, you said that you were an SJW. What does that even mean? Because there's a lot of people who want to know and identify as SJW, and I've known SJWs to tell me that I'm not allowed to have a fetish. Having a fetish is a bad thing. And despite what medical research has actually said, they have actually made it bad that I have a fetish. They attacked me for creating a book that talked about a culture. And I've been attacked for being, well, I'll just put it out there because it's the truth. We're here to have a real conversation, for being a white middle-aged man. Because I'm a white middle-aged man, it turns out everything's now my fault. I didn't realize that. So, when you make everything someone's fault and that's your stance, it makes it very uninviting. And I believe in a lot of things that are for civil rights. So I have this big problem with SJW. So talk me through it. Why are you an SJW, and what does that mean to you? 2 minutes.
I feel like, well, that's a lot to unpack for one, but for two, that's a pretty broad statement.
We'll talk about you. Don't talk about me. You're here. Talk about you.
Well, for me personally, SJWs, Black Lives Matter, trans rights, stuff like that, I'm 100% for. In terms of ComicsGate, the crude. No.
I just want to know what Ian, just what SJW is to you. We'll get to that. I promise you'll have your turn.
It's an overarching idea that marginalized folks need a voice, I guess, that we should stand up for them, that we should be on their side. And I think the problem with lumping everybody into SJW is that not everyone is when they are perceived that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like me, I'm for civil rights, and I've been called
Yeah.
a SJW warrior, which I've never been an SJ warrior. I've also been part of protests. I have protested for gay marriage. I've protested for trans rights. I have actually done many things, but I would never consider myself an SJW warrior. And the simple reason is I don't cross lines. I don't impose a warrior mentality. I try to educate. I try to talk to people, and I allow them to have a conversation. So I do get what you mean. I just don't ever tell anyone you're evil or name call. And that's what I have felt from people who identify as SJW. They say things and never apologize.
You know, I guess that I haven't seen
what
you had to put up with. And, you know, that's, I'm not doubting you at all. I'm sure that's the case. People say all kinds of things. People put all kinds of things into the SJW camp because it's turned into a dirty word, right? It really has. It has. And that's why I'm like, okay, I guess I am, because particularly with Black Lives Matter, gay, trans, stuff like that, I'm 100% on their side. That kind of stuff kind of hits me in the heart. So yeah, I guess I'm an SJW.
2 over. We're going to go to Josh. Same question, because you identified it as an SJW. Josh, what does it mean to you?
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, everybody. Okay. I only take on the label SJW, like Rob, when you use it. I never self-identified as that until people started using it as a negative, to which I got to say, like, my reaction is like, you're goddamn right I am. Like, I don't understand how someone can walk through the modern world, see what's going on, see the way people are treated just for being alive, see all this stuff, and not feel the need to step up for social justice, however you want to label it, to like do the right thing, to like say like, just to point.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have out loud advocated to go punch Nazis, so you've advocated for violence. So my thing to you would be, advocating for violence outside of a war where it's necessary is always a bad thing. And it's always going to be a negative thing to advocate for violence. And I come from a violent neighborhood where you got into fights, whether you wanted to or not. So this is coming from someone who has had many fights in life, more than I'd like. When someone says that to me, that's the line to explain it to you. When you have to seek violence to prove a point. See, one of my biggest heroes is Martin Luther King.
Hold on. I get where you're going, so let me just interrupt you in the interest of time there. I completely acknowledge and accept your point. So first of all, when I advocate punching a Nazi in the face, I was advocating somewhat facetiously, but 1 punch per Nazi per day. I don't think everyone who opposes Nazis should punch every Nazi in the face, because then they'd all get killed. I would be happy with a world where anyone who wants to leave their house with a swastika armband has to feel the terror of, I might get punched in the face by someone today. That is not a real proposal, Rob. I don't think that's a legit possibility. And I definitely don't think that's a way to make a point. I don't expect that Nazi to understand my point of view when they get punched. If, however, a Nazi, I realize my tone of voice is coming off very aggressive. I apologize. That's
5 seconds.
Okay. No, punching is not a way to convince people of anything. If a Nazi wants to talk, I will absolutely talk. I do think they deserve to get punched in the face.
Anthony, why are you ComicsGate? Well, what is it about ComicsGate, and what is ComicsGate? You're the first person to actually represent as ComicsGate for the show. I'm going to give you an extra 30 seconds to explain ComicsGate.
An extra, what's that? 20 seconds?
30 seconds. Just give us a basic. Doesn't
30 seconds. ComicsGate is essentially at its core a consumer movement that is against any ideology that promotes craft or agenda. That basically, this is what it is. ComicsGate is a consumer movement that essentially is against any ideology that promotes agenda over craft, right? So if you're out to tell a good story, right? And let me give you an example real quick. I don't necessarily think that the statement diversity makes a story better. I don't think that's a true statement, because you can have a shitty writer make a diverse story, it doesn't make it any better. And then you can have a good writer write a story that has no diversity in it, and it's a good story. I don't think that there are certain elements that you can just automatically add that will, if it doesn't add to the craft, that it makes it any better or worse. I don't think that you should be putting agendas over the actual craft of storytelling. And that's what it seems to be at the core of what ComicsGate is.
Okay. And I think that,
in my opinion,
that also explains why you're ComicsGate. So that wraps up nicely.
There you go.
Sim, talk to us. Why are you ComicsGate?
Me, I'm ComicsGate at the core because of I've always been anti-PC, anti-censor, and I believe in the freedom of everybody. I believe that anybody has a right to do the book about what they want, how they want it, about the subject that they want, for the client demographic that they want. If I want to be doing like a mature book, I'm allowed to be doing a mature book, and I need to know that I'm doing it for that certain demographic of clientele. Same thing if somebody decides to do an anthropomorphic book, well, you're allowed to do it. You can do the book that you want. Advertise it to the people. It's like, to me, I'm CG because I believe in equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Like, go in, do what you want, and if you become the best that you can be, do your book. Everybody has their right to do so. This is why I'm CG.
All right. And Eric, the dreaded dinosaur man.
You're still muted, Dread.
Yeah.
I think I identify mostly with the core values of what CG says that they promote, because it seems like a welcoming place for me. Myself, I'm a born again believing Christian, and in the comic space of mainstream comics, I felt like there was no place for me, that I was an unwanted person, especially if I have any of my views or beliefs or anything like that. I'm supposed to just shut up and not disagree with someone, or not state what I believe to be true. And for me, it's, at least in the beginning, it seemed like ComicsGate was a welcoming place where I could finally have camaraderie with other creators, have some sense of shared experience, and a desire overall, like Anthony and Sim both said, like with craft, really working hard to create something beautiful, something that's of high quality, and not have to worry about having any forced opinions, judgments thrown at me, and just let the free market decide whether or not my product, my comic, was good enough to be on a newsstand. I didn't have to check any boxes to be anything, because it's good on its own as it is. So, and I think for myself, things in CG might have gotten a little cloudy. I was not a part of it. I pretty much stayed away because I was busy working on my comic and doing comic tours. Came back into the Twitter, YouTube space, and saw Division, and just kind of sat on the sidelines for a while. And I still think the core values of CG, of creating something of value for the customer, is something that should be upheld, and that's what I want to do with my work.
Now, perfect time. You just actually wrapped up too, so perfect, Eric. Just for the record, I'll be quick. I am not timer. I am not either side. I am right in the middle, like I always am. I'm a moderate. I don't pick a side. I look at everything on what it is. I see good and bad in all groups, especially when people get together, and I always hope for the best in people. I advocate for people who create comics. It's that simple. Don't be a total loser or someone who is abusive, and I'll be by your side advocating for you. So that's it. JD, I pass it to you.
All right. I'm pretty much on the same side Rob is. I'm in the middle. I'm not on either side. I try to listen to both sides, though. I've researched ComicsGate. I've researched I'm trying to look at both sides. And to be honest with you, I'm about indie comics. I want to hear everybody's story. Like I said, I have a YouTube channel. I interview people. I want to bring everybody on. And I don't want to be labeled as one thing or another just because I spoke to somebody from one side or I spoke to somebody from another side. I got accused for being ComicsGate. You understand? Because I had one or two of them on my show. I've been on one or two of their podcasts. But the thing is truth is, I'll talk to anybody. I'm from New York City. I'm an old school Puerto Rican. You understand? Straight up. You know, I don't care about your politics. I got my own to worry about. You understand? I mean, as a people, we've been through our stuff. I'm not going to air it here. It's been done. All I want to hear about is comic books and your path through comics. I want to understand it. I want to hear where you're coming from. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear about your culture. I want to hear about all these things because I embrace all those things. I love those things and I want everybody to be involved. I don't want to be like, oh, there's this side and there's that side and there's the other side. No, I want everybody. You understand? So that's where I'm coming from. So, I mean, I just want peace. That's what I want. I just want peace and I just want to get back to making comics and I just want to have fun with this. You know, I don't want to hear all this drama. It's ridiculous. So that's where I'm at, guys.
All right, we're gonna move on to the first batch of questions. I want every one of you to be able to ask any question you want. We will go around the room asking questions. Remember to mute your mics when you're done talking, guys, just so we don't hear all the background noise that you guys are working on. Okay, so here's the first question, and we'll be taking them from Indie Vault Radio, and I have a ton from Facebook. But we're gonna actually start with Ian. Ian's going to get to ask the first question because Ian came to my page, and that's my son, by the way, not a gremlin. He came to my page, and he made some comments about ComicsGate. So here you are. You have your moment to do it. Throw out the question that you want to ask people who identify as ComicsGate. We'll raise our hand, and we'll answer it. And Josh, if you want to weigh in, you can answer it too. Remember, 2 minutes. Everyone gets one go around. And Sim, if you want to actually, JD, we're going to kick you out and put Sim in your place because I can't see, and Varian can see you raise your hand. So bring Sim back in if you can, Varian. And go ahead, Ian, ask the question.
I don't know if I wasn't really prepared for this, I guess.
You want me to read the question you had said? I can just call it up from Facebook.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so on Facebook, I had told him, hey, I'm going to wind up bringing these points that you brought up. Now, one of the ones I thought that you did bring up that I think we do have to address, and let's just get it out of the way, war campaign. Let's just go right for the meat of it. War campaign is the part of, for those who don't know, ComicsGate has had a separate, smaller group that recently has been called a fan group of actually ComicsGate, and stop me if I'm wrong when it's your turn. But they have done some things that have been embarrassing if you want to be taken seriously as an organization that just wants the audience to decide. And I've heard everyone call it embarrassing, even all the way up to Ethan Van Sciver, who I think I'm saying that right, and I apologize if I'm not. It's not meant as a personal thing. I just have pronunciation problems. It's part of my dyslexia. So if I get a name wrong, do apologize. So we're going to start with Anthony. Anthony, war campaign, how do you align with someone? And I do know for the record that war campaign has recently been said to no longer be part of ComicsGate. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That I would defer this to Sim.
All right, Sim.
Sim has a better understanding of this than I do, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Sim. I just know you know this.
I want to say something. One thing before you answer that. I see that Ian had his hand up. Ian, were you trying to correct something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm encompassing both Ethan Van Sciver, Richard Myers, Yellow Flash, that Umbrella guy. These guys that do the YouTube stuff, that's mainly what I'm talking about. Those are the guys that I watch a lot, where I get the ComicsGate information from. So I'm including all that.
Okay.
I don't really know much about War Campaign, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Sim is still going, right, Anthony?
What's that? I'm sorry. Say again.
Sim is still going to hold on, Josh. We're going to let the ComicsGate start the question.
It's if Sim wants to go ahead, that's fine. If the question, Ian's saying it's war campaign's a smaller part to the whole question, but whatever. Go ahead, Sim. Go ahead and take it, bro. Go ahead and take it.
Yeah, war campaign is it's technically a fan group, right? You have war campaign, the show, and you have the fan group. They're technically like two things, right? You have war campaign, you have the host, you have the people doing the show, and you have the people that are fan of CG but are like, do I wait or continue?
No. I was telling Josh, just wait. I saw his hand. I want ComicsGate to start answering the question for ComicsGate before someone else answers.
So right now, saying that they're not CG, they say they are. I'm just saying I'm just trying to answer the question accordingly, right? So right now it's kind of like there's a infighting within CG right now, and let's just say it's never fun to see friends fight, and leave it at that.
Okay. Well,
like right now they're still CG. They're the one behind Vestige, CG Jumpstart, and right now, they're having a little conflict with a few other CGR, it would seem.
Okay. We're gonna get to you in 1 second. Yes, Josh. What's up?
Oh, can we get maybe some of the other guys just run through 3 or 4 basic facts of what war campaign is? Just the basic facts that everyone agrees on there, A, B, and C, just so that we all know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Anthony. Sim. Go ahead, Sim. And then Anthony, and then Eric.
3 points of what they are. Okay, they're a small group of 4 that are doing a show every week. They're also a group of fans of CG and supporters and backers and promoters, right? And they also the type of people that like to keep creators and people aligned by respecting the clientele. That would be the 3 main points to actually express what war campaign are. Like, it's a parody show where they like to make fun and comedy, dark humor. There's the fan part of it, and then you have certain people that like to express their opinion on when they think some creators are treating their fan wrong, and stuff, and so on and so forth. They like to call out wrongdoing. There you go. That would be the 3 main points, I would say.
Anthony.
I'll defer to that as far as the 3 points go. As far as war campaign goes, are we still on war campaign, or are we going to the greater topic of what Ian was actually asking?
No, just Josh's 3 points. If you don't want to add, you can just say I think it's good.
No, it's good.
All right, Eric. Anything to add, or do you think that nailed it? Eric,
you're still muted, Dread.
Sorry, I think that's pretty much what they intend to be. I think as somebody who kind of took a step back and barely, I don't keep up with anything. I don't watch hours and hours long live streams. It seemed to be, I couldn't tell if what they were doing was kayfabe or if it was serious and hurtful. So I think there's a lot of confusion there, and I would put that as a point, because it was very ambiguous. Unless you keep up with everything, I don't even know if you kept up with everything. If you could tell when, like, for example, something that Roe might say would be meant to hurt, cut, or turn down somebody, or if it's something that's like a frat boy mentality, playful banter. And honestly, I think it doesn't really matter on the outside, because as a professional, that has no place in business, and that's what making comics should be, as a business.
All right, so let's get back to Ian's comment then. Sim had already addressed it. Eric, you're already not unmuted, so talk to us. Ian's basically saying that Ethan Van Sciver does not act professionally. That's basically what it boils down to. Am I right, Ian? It's basically unprofessional behavior. They're talking about burning books. These were the comments you were talking about. How they're and also I believe, and stop me if I'm wrong, Ian, that you said that you feel like they have a problem specifically against women.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Eric, does CG hate women, and why do they do the things they do that I guess intentionally upset people? Go ahead, Ian.
Let me just say to Anthony, Sim, you guys, Eric, I realize that ComicsGate is like SJW. Y'all don't fall into the same category every time, but on both sides we need to realize that there are behaviors that we condone when we especially ComicsGate being a set thing that has a mission statement. You're a group, that has a mission statement, so you're kind of owning it.
Well, let me stop you, Ian. Is there a mission statement? I saw Ian had pushed something that wasn't a real site. I do know that you guys meet in different ways, and I won't say how I know and where I know you do, but there are different places you meet. I've never seen an official website for ComicsGate, and I haven't seen this Bill of Rights for ComicsGate. Yes or no? Is there a Bill of Rights for ComicsGate?
Honestly, I don't know what the state of things are right now, because when I came in, Mike Miller had a clear definition on his on a website that he put up of what ComicsGate is. I don't even know if that's still around. And I know he had an unfortunate falling out, and I don't know the entire circumstances around that. But I think in retrospect, any group, I mean, we don't have a top-down structure. I think people unfairly always looked to Ethan to be some sort of figurehead or leader. I don't really think that is a role that he wants, is equipped for, or comfortable with. I think he'd be much happier just making his Cyberfrog book and being left alone at this point. I think in order for any of us in this indie comic space to thrive next to mainstream competitors and say that, hey, you know, we deserve a seat at the table, I would say that we have to rise to that professional level. And again, I'll acknowledge that I've seen lesser behaviors out of people that I wish I wouldn't see. I think Ian's right. We're going to see that on any gathering of people. You still have people in the gathering, and you know, we're all yet sinners, and none of us can say that we're better than any one other person in any way. And in that respect, the frat boy stuff, sure, but the frat boy stuff I don't like. I've never seen anybody be actually anti-women. I know the women who are in CG get harassed a lot, called thought and whatnot, and I don't want to see that behavior either. So,
all right,
clips if you want to see them.
Well, no. The point was made. I can say that I've been around SJW. I'm sorry, ComicsGate, and I've heard negative things said. But again, that's frat boy mentality, which does run rampant, which has been admitted. So, I mean, the Mary Sue thing is a very big indicator of that. And of course, everyone's going to bring up the milkshake thing. Guess what? We're not talking about the milkshake thing today because that was so long ago. We've all moved on. That's not coming up today. So let's not bring up the milkshake thing. That was ugly. People have already tried to apologize for it. We're not going down that road today. I do want to ask Anthony and Sim if they have anything to add to that, and then we're going to turn it around, and they're going to ask. Someone's going to ask the SJWs and JD their thoughts on something that they see, because I think it's only fair that they ask the question. So, Anthony,
go ahead, Anthony.
There you go. The idea behind, there's so much to unpack, man. I think for me, the reason that I wound up, because I'll tell you how I got in. I got in listening to Richard C. Myers. I spent hours, bro, listening to that dude. I spent hours pouring through videos and shit. So I had to sit through boring ass live streams and all kind of shit. And the labeling that was coming out of that, man, that's not what I saw. Zach's he's a knucklehead, bro. He's a knucklehead. He's a knock around knucklehead is what he is, man. And how he got it and how he made his bones was by saying that, listen, here's the deal. Because I've seen him criticize Mark Waid comics, but then I've also seen him say, this was a good book Mark Waid made. I've seen him criticize Gail Simone for making shitty comics and then turn around and say, this was a good book that Gail Simone wrote. I've seen him give credit where credit's due. What the whole point was, and again, and I did see this, it's like you have this idea going on that somehow you're injecting people into these positions that if you look at the way things have been going, and I would say everybody on here has been subject to that. Everybody on here has to bust their ass and work their ass to get their books out there, and has gone through all kind of shit. And so to see people jump in line, not based on merit, not based on previous work, not based on anything like that. Yeah, that's an issue. And that's what I was hearing more than anything else. Mm-hmm. Now you started having all of this banter with Kwanzaa and all of this stuff back and forth. But again, this is the nature of it. I never saw any ill nature towards that. I never felt like what was being said specifically because that person was black, a woman, or anything like that. It's that these people represented this cancer, which he felt was a cancer, that was deteriorating good books, good things.
Anthony,
and if they just happen to be this, they just happen to be that. That's what I saw with my own eyes.
Okay.
And that's what led me into where I'm at right now.
Sim,
I'm sorry, I'm like Josh. I get animated. I don't mean to sound aggressive because
All
I'm
right,
not.
Tim.
I'm really not.
All right.
I'd like to add that, behind in DMs, talking with other creators, part of CG, right? How we see CG, it's an ideology. It's not a group think. It's not anything. It's just the ideology of not having politics controlling the book, a certain narrative. Not that nobody can tell me that I have to have that certain recipe in my book to please everybody, to have the feeling that I have to please certain people or this and that, and not just concentrate on doing the story I like to tell and the book I'd like to bring everybody. My books are for everybody. I'm not just CG. I was in indie comics since 2009. I got attacked and I got accused of a lot of stupid things. And the reason why I am, and this is the idea behind CG, is to no politics, force into a book, no agenda, no PC culture, no censor. I can do the book I want. You can do the book you want, and this is why I am. It's there's no other reason. There's no politics into it. I've never got involved in politics. If you want to know where's my stand, I'm always more of the centrist type of guy. I'm the type that's in between, trying to be the referee. Like you guys are fighting. Can we find a place where we can meet in the middle? It's about meeting in the middle and going forward as a big entity. Not everybody has to agree on everything. What happened to let's agree to disagree?
All right. Sim, do you want to ask the question? I do see your hand, Ian. I just want to know if Sim wants to ask the question for the ComicsGate. Do you want to start? Well, take a minute. Eric, do you have a question for the SJW crowd? I can ask one if you don't.
I'm working on one, but I'm not quite sure how I want to word it. So go ahead.
All right. Ian, go ahead and say what you have to say. Anthony, if you do have a question, please raise your hand so Varian can see and he can rotate you in to ask the question. Go ahead, Ian.
I guess one of my main points is how can you say that you want to be able to make the book that you want to make, but at the same time look at these other folks and say, well, they did it this way and that's wrong.
Well, hold on. That sounds like individual critique and not anything I've heard ComicsGate say.
But that's an overarching idea of ComicsGate, right? Is that these people are doing something that they disagree with and they have a problem with that.
No, they just want the consumer. That the goal, like they said, and all three of them have said this, the goal of ComicsGate is to let the consumer make the decision.
Right. At what point does the consumer make the decision? Because when these books don't sell, they get canceled, and then they come on and make videos about how horrible they are, and see, look, it got canceled. Well, isn't that exactly what you're advocating for?
Well, it's the same.
Make the book you're going to make. People like it, they don't.
Yeah, right? But on the same thing, the SJWs do the same things when something with the ComicsGate crowd doesn't succeed. That's just ugly individual behavior. It is just what it is. I've never seen Ethan go out and celebrate a book ending. Go ahead, Sim. I know you want to respond. I hear you.
I would say I'm against cancel culture, guy. There's extremes on all sides. There's always an asshole in any group. There's a jerk everywhere. There's extremes on both sides. To me, it's like nobody should get canceled. Everybody, I said it before, and I keep repeating it. Everybody's allowed to do the books they want, how they want.
Well, Tim, can I interrupt you and ask you one thing?
Yeah.
Don't the fans get to cancel something if they don't buy it?
They just don't buy it. Technically, that's the thing. If you're not interested, don't buy it.
So we can all agree that the consumer, for this panel, the consumer is the boss. Does anyone disagree with that? Okay, so we found middle ground. Good. Anthony, did you have your question?
Yeah, the question is it's probably, but my statement is that, and this is, and I don't want it to go here, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do this either, because when I came here, this is what I came here for. I'm not going to. I guess my questions are specifically to you and the individuals who are on here. Like, I'm not trying to hold up a purity test that somehow CG passes and has no mistakes and it has flaw. Like, I'm not here for that, and I'm not here to defend CG in a way that they're completely right in everything they do and they don't do anything wrong. I don't think either one of these ideologies can make that argument. So I would move closer to what our misconceptions may be of each other and try to clear those up.
So what do you got for
I agreed.
Okay, so so this would be a question. I'll throw this out here. And I don't know. It may apply, it may not. But being that I ordered the book Jawbreakers, the very first Jawbreakers, and I bought it, I read it, I went through it. I'm not sure if you guys bought it or read it, but what do you feel about Kamala Zahn not allowing it on the site because essentially it was depicted people of color in negative light, even though that's not really what the book is about. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, first, before anyone answers, who's read the book? By a show of hands. Sim, have you read it?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, so the only people who can really talk here are the ones who read it.
I've got it. I just haven't been able to sit down and read my stack.
You know what I mean?
I've read it. I've read it.
All right.
I've read it. I've read all of it. And I think JD.
Yeah, I've read Jawbreakers.
Okay.
I have my own opinions on that book, and if you guys want to hear them, I'll be happy to share them.
I do. My opinion, this is all, and I hear you. As far as craft goes, we could have a whole discussion on that, bro. Okay, but my thing is when you read it, did you think that it violated Kickstarter's to not be carried? Do you think that it violated those standards?
No, not at all. It's a book. I mean, its only issue is that it's really not that good of a book, but it's a book, and I think it should have been on the site. You understand? I mean, I have fantastic art in it. You know? Correct.
I'll go with you. Like I said, as far as craft goes, we could have a whole nother. I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? My thing was mainly that aspect of it was that because this is at the core, because this is a real core springboard for the whole CG movement.
All right, Anthony, I have to ask you,
part of what I'm sorry.
Anthony, I have to ask a question. Did Kickstarter read the book?
Oh, I have no idea. I would assume. I mean, in good faith, I would have to assume that Kamala Zahn, in her position, would have had to have read the book to make that call. I mean, it's completely negligent if she didn't and just based it off of reputation. Okay, that's totally negligent. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here. I don't know.
Okay, so she's in a position of power. She decides that the book is negative. JD doesn't seem to think it was negative enough to kick off Kickstarter. Am I right by saying that, JD?
Correct. You're right. I don't think, yeah.
So she overreached, but it's a business. And I'm sorry, but businesses are allowed to do whatever businesses want.
That wasn't my argument.
No, I'm answering your question.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I followed it. That's why I said you might mute your mics, because you'd have to think before you talk.
Gotcha.
So I watched the whole thing, and I know the business can do anything they want, but I also do think that when you're a business asking for creators to come on board, I don't think she read the book. I think she saw something and made a snap decision. I would love to have that conversation, but from what I watched, it felt like a very snap decision, and I get why people are upset. So to answer your question, because I'm a moderate, I was disappointed by it. The fans should have made that decision. I know people who read it afterwards. That's why I asked, and everyone said no. I mean, yeah, sure, you could nitpick things, but it really wasn't anything that was hateful. Nothing that would have broke their violation. So, because I did talk to people about it, and I did do my research. We never ran a story because it got so blown up that everyone covered it. What was the point of us covering it? But I had a lot of creators who are very nervous now, and there was talk about, wait a minute, is this a new censorship coming? So it was a dangerous moment, and Varian, I'm sure, remembers that. The whole talk about, oh my God, Kickstarter's not going to let. I mean, I had people telling me, you're not going to put your fetish book back on Kickstarter anymore because this is a new rule now. They're going to scan content. Go ahead, Varian.
I'm sorry, I had a mouthful of candy. I was not prepared for the type of anarchy. I did read Jawbreakers, and I say this. I was at Comic-Con. I had not read it yet. And the gentleman I was sitting with, who's respected in the industry, so I might even call him a legend, was sitting next to another well-known comic artist, not an artist, but a professional writer. And he had brought Jawbreaker so that I could see it because I had not received because I buy books from everybody. Anti-CG, CG, I don't care who you are. You put out a good book that sounds interesting, I'm gonna buy it. And he bought the book so I can see it. And it just so happens that I had Walter from the table while I was coming back, and the guy next to him said, "What are you reading?" And he showed him Jawbreakers. And the guy said, "Oh, that crap." And he had never read the book, but he called it crap already, based on the person's politics. He called it crap, and actually yelled at him. He said, "Well, see what you need to understand. And we have a joke here at INDIE Vault, which is called 'I don't have to understand shit,'" which is weird. And that's what he yelled at him. "I don't have to understand shit." And this guy turns red and storms off and leaves his table for like 30 minutes. I mean, he's missing all types of sales. Yeah, it was a big meltdown. And I'm like, "Why are you so mad?" And we're looking like this guy is pissed just because you had a book in your hand. I have read Jawbreakers. I'll say this, and maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but it seemed apolitical to me. There was no politics in there, left or right. I just don't feel as if it was. I mean, like, I get it. You don't like Richard. That's fine, but there's nothing wrong with that book. I mean, I hate to say it. There's nothing in that book that comes across as propaganda. I mean, yeah, JD, go ahead.
All right, because the thing is, like I said,
sorry, JD.
Like I said, I read the book. My issue with it has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with technique. Has everything to do with execution. No. I get it, Rob. I know that's not what we're here for. I get it. You understand? But I want people to understand. There's nothing to do. It's apolitical. It's about a group of guys chasing down a monkey. That's what the book is about. It's not that big a deal. It has all kinds of other issues, but those are other issues.
Okay. I want to hear from Ian and I want to hear from Josh. How is it okay to be censoring this product? Either one can go first. Who want? Or you could say, "I don't have an opinion." That is fine.
Okay. I'll take that. It's not okay to censor it, and as soon as any censorship of it starts, I would say it should stop immediately. And I would argue with anyone's definition of censorship who thinks this has been censored.
What do you mean?
A private company chose to not carry it. Perhaps unfairly, but they didn't read my books before I put them on Kickstarter, because my books hadn't been made before I put them on Kickstarter, so that would be impossible. So they have some standard of judgment, and I will say, as comic creators and comic readers and comic fans, we all understand the power of word and image. We all understand the power of symbols and how symbols represent beliefs. And to me, when you take on that label, ComicsGate, you are willingly taking on everything that means, whether it's justified or fair or not. You're taking on everything that everyone puts on it, right?
Well, hold on. Josh, are you saying he identified as ComicGate at that point? Because he had not, actually. From my memory of the history of it, because I covered it, he became ComicsGate after what they did to him.
And they called him ComicsGate.
Yeah. You got just
that is correct.
And remember, I'm a moderate, so
okay. Then all right. Well, let me modify that then, because my understanding was different, but I'm clearly not an expert on this, so that's fine. I'll just transfer that point that I was making to some later point, so I don't have to reiterate that later on. But for whatever it is, somebody applied some judgment to it and determined that the supposed racist or whatever the content was that was not appropriate for Kickstarter.
Let me ask you a quick question then. If Kickstarter turns out and says, well, this is about gay marriage, we don't want to carry this book on Kickstarter,
then Kickstarter is making a decision that they do not want my money or any of the money that would be driven away from that. Okay. Right? Kickstarter made the decision that by making that stand on Jawbreakers, they are fine. They would rather have the SJW money in that case than the other money. And that is their decision to make.
All right, Ian.
Yep, same. I'm not for any kind of censorship, but that doesn't mean that Kickstarter or Indiegogo, for that matter, owes anybody anything. They do what they want. That's, and I don't know. To be honest, I know nothing about stuff before the milkshake incident. That's when I started.
Okay, Anthony. Anthony, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit on the whole thing. I think it's, the idea that, and this is, and again, I take it on good faith. I don't take anything against on bad faith, but the idea that somehow everything is a monolith, and that somehow CG is a monolith, and that anything that anyone does in CG bounces back on CG, is that's part of the label. Well, you could say that about SJWs. You can say that about really ugly ass behavior, which you two guys are not. You don't claim some of the most nasty behavior that SJWs go to. Guys sending pictures of their assholes all the way on Twitter and shit like that. I'm pretty sure that you guys aren't for stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. So the idea that there's a monolith out there, and that somehow we take some of the worst things that have happened and define each other by them, I think that's the wrong way to go about that.
Right,
I think we're doomed to continue fighting if we look at each other's worst behaviors and attribute that to each other. Okay,
Josh, what was the counterpoint there?
Oh, my mic was on this whole time. Sorry. I admit that I am being very judgmental now, so excuse that. But I don't. So you lump me in with, not you. I get lumped in with other SJWs. Again, I never call myself that because I just think that's normal human behavior. But that sounded judgy too. My bad.
All right, Josh.
I don't know what the positive part of ComicsGate is. Right? You tell me, not you, but in general, like, oh, SJW, you're getting lumped in with the people who like do awful shit in that name. But I'd say like, right. But there's also the social justice angle. There's also the like promoting unheard voices. Hold on. For me, from my point of view, what I see ComicsGate, I don't see any uplift or any positive part. All I see, again, as an outsider, all I see of ComicsGate is trying to silence voices. And so,
all right, Josh, we got the question.
Good.
You're kind of repeating yourself. Ian wants to say something, but please be quick, Ian, because I do want Anthony, Sim, and Eric to be able to answer that, because that's a shot. That's kind of a shot over the bow, and it's not intentional. I know, Josh, very respectful. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that's something that they're going to want to answer, and I can see it in their faces. So, Ian, please quickly, so we can get to the meat of that.
I feel like the term SJW is something that's just branded on people with
no. People identify. At the beginning of the show, I deliberately asked people to self-identify. We're not going there. I'm only talking about people who self-identify. I always, and I said that at the beginning of this would only be people who identify as SJW. I don't label anyone anything. They put their own labels on at the beginning of the show on purpose. So no offense, Ian, we're not going down that road.
Okay, well, here's the thing. ComicsGate has people that are at the forefront. Who's the SJW leader? Whose YouTube can you point to and say, I can tell there's the SJW person.
But I can tell you all the
SJW comic leader.
I got no leader.
Yeah. Well,
in reverse, I can
and Richard Myers. And
that.
Hold on. These people think.
Hold on.
They're out in the forefront, putting themselves out on YouTube.
Okay, I can throw out some names.
So it's a pretty reasonable thing.
Ian, let me answer your question.
At you.
Ian, let me answer your question, Ian. Heather Antos has put herself out there. Gail Simone has put herself out there. You want me to keep giving some names? I'm sure everyone else in this room can drop names too. You're not being honest, or you're not educated. No offense, Ian. It's well,
here's the thing: is who went at who first? Who started this whole YouTube craze? And
that would actually
hold on. With
Whoa, stop. It started because of them trying to force Republicans out of office because Trump was elected president. That is how this started. That is the history of it. Yes, that is.
Sorry, that's not true. They don't like what? At what point did they force? When were they like?
They sent a really nice email saying anybody that voted for Trump, we won't forget you, and you'll pay.
And
I remember Alana Smith, right?
They started secret groups, Ian.
And I ain't even a conservative.
Ian, I covered this again. as a group. I watched this happen. I talked to people. I saw shots from the secret group. There were secret groups that targeted different creators. That really happened. That's where the name ComicsGate came from. You cannot deny the history.
I don't know what. Yeah,
nice history that I'm staring at right here of going after creators.
Who wrote
Aubrey Simpson fired? I mean, why? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? I mean,
I don't. Wait. I don't see. But my only thing to this is I don't see how. Why would this be such a stretch? I mean, look at the country and where we are right now. Why would this be such a stretch that you would have people who were violently against Trump, who were in the business, who were pissed off? Because Van Sciver, listen, here's the deal. You have a difference of Van Sciver is definitely has my type of humor, which is inappropriate. And I watched him before I was CG, before I was anything. I watched him on Facebook, and I watched him engage, and everything was kind of, jib. Everybody kind of jabs at one another and this, that, and the other. But he was definitely pro-Trump, and everybody was, oh, wait till it happens and you lose and all this stuff like this. It was all fun and games until Trump won. And then when Trump won, it started to get really, really ugly. And again, I think everybody was just waiting for people to go, okay, bro, like he won, gotcha. This is the way it is. But it never de-escalated. Now, as far as that's how it kind of started, but what catapulted CG is, and I hope we get time to this, is the whole Mark Wade situation. That's what catapulted this into what it is. And that's what lightning rodded the entire CG. If Myers would have been allowed to even go on Kickstarter, but if he would have been allowed to do business with Anarch Press, you wouldn't see as big a movement as you see right now. That blew up. It blew up because Mark Wade went to Antarctic Press and tortiously interfered. And that played a big part in it.
Before CG became CG, it was the PC culture and the censorship that was happening. Then that de-escalated, and that became ComicsGate.
Yep.
That's what people need to remember. It has nothing to do with politics at all.
And it became ComicsGate because it was named that originally by what was going on in secret groups that most of you don't know ever existed. Most of you are unaware of what happens behind the scenes. Those of us who see it behind the scenes, and we got the snapshots, and Varian, I know, has seen the snapshots, understand the direct order to knock people out who did not agree with them politically. We saw it in Hollywood. It literally was happening in Hollywood at the same time. To deny it happened is disingenuous to history.
I see Josh. I want to ask a question from INDIE Vote Radio from someone who wrote in, but I see Josh had his hand up, so I want to allow him to speak first. I'm sorry.
I'll try to be quick. My comment on the Mark Wade thing. So basically, that was, by my understanding, again, limited understanding, dude wanted to do a book there. Mark Wade didn't like the dude's politics and said, if you work with him, you won't work with me, and I'm going to wave all my muscle around to keep that from happening. So, yeah, that sucks. I would hate that if Mark Wade did that to me, but if it wouldn't have worked if that person's books were that good. If that person's books were so good that they would outsell, the company would just go, you know what, Mark Wade, we value your opinion, but get lost. We're going to sell more books with this guy. So if his books are so good,
Josh, you're forgetting how much money that book then goes on to make right now. You're killing your own point.
No. Wait, but okay, but still, the point is,
no, Josh, I'm gonna have to interrupt. At this point in Hollywood, people were getting fired. Tim Allen got fired off of his own show for flipping up in Republican. Yes, Sim, 1 second.
I just want to add to your point. I just wanted to say that you're right. I just second what you're saying because I come from that medium too. I've worked in the movie medium. I'm a 3D animator.
I see.
I just wanted to second what you said. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, people were getting fired for just their political views. That's not America. And he getting like you're again, Josh Dahl. I don't believe that if someone had done this in reverse and was against someone for coming out as a trans creator, you'd be like, well, it's okay. Maybe their book wasn't that good. I don't see you doing that. And I think it's disingenuous to pick a side and go, well, it's not a big deal because it's not one of my guys. You can't do that. Right is right. You can't have different rules for different sides because you agree or disagree with who they are or what they're creating. I'm sorry, but that comes from my moderate background. You have to have the same rules for both sides. And trust me, both sides shit on that. Both sides have different rules for each other, and I call both sides out when they do that. So I keep everyone honest that way. So it's not just your side. The other side does too. And I brought up the Mary Sue thing. I hate the Mary Sue thing. Everyone talks about Mary Sue, but everyone's okay with Gogan, whatever his name is from the anime, or Superman. No one has a problem with him being powerful. Make a powerful woman and everyone loses their mind.
Josh, did you finish your point? Because I see Ian had his hand up and I wanted to.
I finished it up. That's
okay. Ian, what were you going to say? Because I got a question from IndieE Radio, but go ahead.
Well, the guy from Anarchy Press already came out and said that he made the decision before Mark Waid even called him. And he said that as far as I know, he said that in the deposition or whatever for the torturous shit that Richard Meyer brought up.
Ian,
That's my first point. And my second point.
Well, hold on. Before you make your second point, Ian, I know that he told the people working in Anarchy Press that he did not do that. Mark Waid bullied him. He's changing it because his ass is in a courtroom. But the truth is, he backed down because Mark Waid was a bigger name. That's all.
Maybe he'll get arrested for,
No,
perjury.
you won't get arrested for that. Well, perjury, yes, but prove it.
But let me just add to that real quick. If whether or not he made that decision based on Mark Waid or not, Mark Waid had no business calling regarding someone else's deal. That would be like me calling, and tampering with your pizza. I can't call Domino's and say, "Hey, no, add anchovies to that pizza."
You better not.
But and that's just to be fair. But I understand where everyone's making great points. I do want to, Ian, go ahead, finish your point though. I want to.
Well, how far into this feud was that? How many times did he call Gail Simone fat, Heather Antor's?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter? Well, here's to Anthony's point.
Okay.
They conspire against him. Maybe, because you and I started watching these videos and we got hours and hours of watching Richard. You came to the conclusion that he's a funny, cool guy. I came to the conclusion that he's a dick with a bad attitude. And
gotcha. Hey.
Maybe those other people did too. Maybe they don't want to work with him, and maybe it's not a conspiring.
But to sabotage somebody's business because they're a dick, man, that's not right.
About it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's not right, man.
I understand that, but how many different lines need to be crossed until
Mark
people sit down and say, okay, we need to scrub this shit.
Ian, Mark went and bragged about it. So he was the same asshole that you don't like on the other side of the street. So both of them are assholes. So don't defend one side and not condemn the other for doing the same thing. Same problem I had as before. You cannot say you don't like something when that other side is doing it. You applaud it.
Right.
That's not fair. And we're gonna.
Let me just say this. If Myers would have brought the book to Wade and Wade would have said, "Stick it up your ass," Wade has every right in the world based upon his business to do that. But to go and interfere with somebody's business because you think they're a dick, that's wrong. You could be wrong.
What?
That's the thing. You could be wrong.
All right.
Let me tell you something. How I look at the world, now is different than how I looked at it 5 years ago. So for me to go out and start sabotaging people's business because I have an idea in my head, I may be wrong. It's just not right.
Well, let me move on to this question real quick.
Hold on. Also, there's a lawsuit. They will figure it out in the court. We're not a court.
There you go.
It actually it's Doc Salem here mentions it. It's actually right along with that question. He says it's not okay to discriminate against the book because of pro. Mark Waid has some falsehoods against it. He says also that you don't have to look that hard, Josh. CG isn't all white people or all male or female. We create content for everyone. Then he says that's not true, Josh. Mark Waid threatened Anarchy Press with a rally of people that would shut down Anarchy Press. They have court documents to back this up. But the question is from IndieE Radio, and I want to try to cycle through as many of those as I can. And you guys might see. I'll put them up on screen. You guys can read them. But from IndieE Radio, everyone wants to know what are SJWs feeling. I put Dreaded Dinosaur back into. This comes from Brian from the UK, and he wants to know how do SJWs feel when per campaign CG campaigns make more money than their SJW counterparts. You guys, I don't know if you guys all want to weigh in on that. I'm gonna bring JD back in because him being a moderate, right in between, he might have a really fresh take on that.
Okay.
So I'll pop out and bring JD back in. Can I bring Eric in too and drop you too, Eric, or should I?
Hold on.
Can I ask a question? I'm just trying to understand. Is the question how does SJWs feel when CG books make more money? Is that,
Yeah,
is that
basically.
Okay, I was just trying to make sure. Okay.
All right. Actually, you could. Me and Varian will step out. If one of us have to come in, that's because you guys are misbehaving. Really quickly, Anthony.
Me and Ian will behave. I promise.
Anthony, let me finish talking. This is why you're muted, Anthony. This is why you're muted. So we're going to start with Sim, Josh Dahl, whoever shows up where Varian Grant is, whoever shows up where I am, Ian, and then end with Anthony. So,
All right, here we go.
Let him in.
All right.
Okay, is that me? Okay, so how do I feel when a so-called ComicsGate book does fine and sells well? Awesome, good for them. I hope they grow their audience. That's fantastic. Why people want to spend their money there? That's totally cool. Turn your mics on.
I think it's
I think you next, JD.
Yeah, I'm next. I'm sorry about that. I had it muted. All right. I mean, as far as one side making more money than the other, I mean, to be honest with you, a rising tide raises all ships, right? And I think that's how we should try to look at it. We should try to be getting more people into indie comics, period. Not one side or the other. It just doesn't matter. What matters is that indie comics are flourishing. And that's what I think we need to all to try to propagate. Not this whole thing on my side, your side, the other thing, but to just like try to raise it up for everybody. Go ahead, Josh.
And to be a little bit less balanced than I was a minute ago, take it a little bit more personally. I think we all know that some of the big bursts we see on especially crowdfunding things are political, right? So like, for example, the Jawbreakers book, the people who wanted to read it and because it was quality, whatever, were probably here. We all know it got a boost for its political blah 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 whatever. I don't, that's fine. Of course I want people spending that money on my books. Of course I want that money, but I understand that for that margin that pushed it over, that politically voting with your dollars margin, those people weren't going to read my books anyway, so I don't care.
All right, so if you don't mind, like, I get what you're saying, and I feel the same way. I want those people to read my books too. But the thing is with, the thing with Myers, you can see what's going on.
All right, hold on.
Why
is it just Josh and JD talking? Daddy has to come back in and restore order, okay? Enough. Sim was actually supposed to be next. Sim, I saw you trying to talk. I'm here to restore order. I tried. I can't be trusted on your own.
I just thought, like, since, the question was, how do SJW feel about, to me, it's, like I said, it's like anybody has their chance of doing it. And the people talk. The money, people talk with their wallet, right? I love everybody. Like, dude, I've been on Indie Vault for a long time. I go on, I go say hi. I'm not a CG only guy. I've been indie since 2009. CG, I am because what I've said before. I'm anti-PC. I'm anti-censor. Period.
All right.
And I just think it's fun to see everybody succeed. If you're not CG and you have a project I'm interested in, I'm gonna freaking back it. I don't give a damn.
Amen. All right, Anthony.
I mean, how do I feel when CG books do great? I feel awesome. Nah, I'm being a smart ass, of course.
That's
no,
why
I think I can't help it, man. I put it to you like this, and I'm kind of new to ComicsGate, but what I can tell you is that I crowdfunded my book by myself, right? And I got funded and everything. And like I said, I kind of wound up in CG. But when I went to CG, and this is what I can say, and I guess I can only speak, and I try to only speak from my experience because this is what I know to be true. When I went over to CG, I was welcomed. My book is about New Orleans. My two main characters is a Frenchman pirate named Jean Lafitte. The other one is Marie Laveau, Creole lady. New Orleans is a very diverse town. A lot of melting pots there. And when I came over, CG welcomed me with there's no conditions. I don't have any conditions, man. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, you got to do this and you have to post this and you can't say. I've been given none of that, and all I've been shown is, hey, man, awesome. Here's what we want you to do, right? We want you to kind of make sure that you promote your book, promote other CGs, right? Make sure that you basically fulfill your campaign and make sure that the fans have what they want. That's what we're here. That's what we want you to do. And if you do that, cool, man. Everything is good. So when I go there and it's like this, there's no secret handshakes. There's no racist Dakota rings. There's none of this. Your book has to be about this. It can't be about. There's none of that there. So when I see that making money, I think that's good. It's good for everybody, because at the end of the day, when you read these books and realize they're not political and realize that they are good, then people are going to say, I want to be a part of that. Last thing, 2 seconds. I think we're all CG. I think we're all CG. At the core of it, I think we all want to make good books. I think we want to give our fans what they want, and I don't think we want to be interfered with through any kind of political correctness. I think we're all CG.
Anthony, stop putting labels on me.
You son of a bitch.
Can I just add a little something on this? Because I like how he was saying it's kind of like there's enough crazy from both extremes. Eventually, we're all going to meet at the center. Okay.
Amen. Ian.
I feel great, man. Honestly, it's wonderful. I just wish that he wouldn't have built his fan base on the back of.
Who's he? We're not talking about he. We're talking about
Richard Myers and Jawbreakers.
We're not talking about that.
Are we just talking about crowdfunding as a whole?
Yes.
Then yeah, good dude. Crowdfunding is amazing, man. As you know, I'm an indie advocate myself. That's almost all I did when I reviewed. It's almost all indie books, and I love the positivity of the indie world, because for the most part, we're all a bunch of folks with day jobs that are running around trying to make a dream happen. And to me, that's some amazing stuff. And Anthony, congratulations on your book, man. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I just, the things I have a problem with are on that side of it. So,
okay, good enough. James, Eric Hudson, the dreaded dinosaur man. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
I was actually pantomiming.
His name does say dinosaur.
Honestly, I just get called a boomer.
That was my way of doing it. Yes.
when an indie comic makes a crap ton of money, I don't care if the creator's an asshole or the greatest guy in the universe. They're setting a precedent that will allow the door for the rest of us to possibly do well enough to raise up even more people, and we can have this groundswell. I think it's a spectacular, wonderful thing. I wish we could all hit EVS type numbers. I know that's not realistic. And you know what? At the end of the day, if it's me, I want to look back and say, I didn't do anything to hurt anybody to get here. That's how I see for myself. I hold like I said, I'm a Christian. I hold myself up to these principles that everybody deserves a base level of respect, because we're all made in the image of God. So I think you start there and you work your way up with me. There's no basement to that. I owe everybody, no matter what race, religion, creed, sexuality, whatever they are, a base level of respect, because they are created in the image of God. And that's a hill that I'm willing to die on. And if it's me that makes the 900K or whatever, I'm going to hire a whole bunch of you. And I don't care what your background is, if you got the talent and you can do the work, because I want to make twice as much and create jobs. And that's just like it's at the heart of like a capitalist mindset, is to bring people up, create jobs, create wealth. We don't have to all split up a little piece of pie.
10 seconds.
Because I see some people are like, oh, so-and-so made all this money. That's not fair. Now, that's the money they made. That's decisions they want to make with that money, they can make with that money. You do something good enough to make that money, you make your own decisions for it. You raise people up. You give people jobs. Do it.
All right. And okay, here's a real complicated question. This is how we're going to end the show. So we're at 1 hour 14 minutes. We said 90 minutes. We're going to stick to the 90 minutes. We've covered a lot of ground. We can always come back and do it again. But here is the middle ground. This one is going to blow all your minds, and it's going to be so controversial. Ready? Why do you love comics, and why do you create them? And I'll start. I love comics because they literally taught me to read. I love comics because they gave me escape during the darkest times of my life. I love creating comics because I've inspired little children to make them feel like they're not alone. I've inspired adults to feel like someone understands what they're going through. I write comics because it brings light to things that we don't talk about, but should talk about. And I do it because I love entertaining people. And we're going to start with Josh next. And then Varian, rotate me out, bring yourself in, and then rotate someone else in so we get JD in here. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh boy, Rob, I have no prep for this. I love comics. I love making comics because of the community. I mean, I have a lot of other reasons, personally, creative, blah, blah, blah. But I love when I'm doing a convention, walking into the convention floor, when all the tables are empty and everyone's setting up and carrying their boxes. And it feels like we are all people who made it to the same place at the same time, and we're all about to fight the same fight. And that feels really good. Oh, is my mic on?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
For me, well, I think comics was something that it's always been in my life, even from being a kid. I was, always given comics to read, no matter how much trouble I was in. My father would take me to the comic book store and allow me to buy a book. I thought he forgot I was on punishment. Turns out he was happy I was reading. So there's a point where comics, I think, helped save my life as a young guy. Growing up, I had comics, video games, and my computer. I didn't leave my room, especially once I discovered porn. So don't need to leave my room after that point. But I love comics. I think making my own, the first book I ever held that I had something to do with making, that hunger didn't dissipate at all. I wanted more. Now I wanted the collection of books that I had made. So that's why I love comics. And I will yield the rest of my time to Sim.
Me, I love comics, and it's quite simple. I was born with a pencil in my hand. My mom always said it. The day I discovered Frazetta, I knew I wanted to be an artist. Then after that, I discovered Claremont, Jim Lee's X-Men, Frank Miller's Dark Knight, and Heavy Metal Magazine. And since then, I've been doomed. I cannot stop doing comics. I went to do 3D animation, special effects for movies, and even though trying to do movies, you come to a realization that you're like, dude, comics the best part of all of this. Like movies, TV series, anything starts with a freaking comic called a storyboard. I've done storyboard. I love comics. If I don't do comics, if I don't draw comics, I go nuts. I'm not happy. I could be a millionaire and I'll still be crunching, waking up. Like my life is I draw, take care of my kids because I'm a single dad. I have 4 kids at home with my bro. And all I do is take care of my family, sleep, and draw. I'd be a millionaire. I'll still do the same goddamn thing. This is who I am. This is what I want to be. My heroes are Kirby, Mobius, and this is why I love comics, and I'll never stop.
Let's see. I guess I'll go. I love comics, man. I've been reading comics since I was a child. I love the world that these people build, both the writing and the art. I have appreciation for it. Like Rob said, man, it takes you out of dark places, man. It gives you that escapism that you need. It sometimes it's just too real and it brings you back to reality. You never know what you're gonna get in it. It's just all amazing. All of it is, man. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So
I really enjoy making comics because it's just always been part of who I am ever since my dad gave me his old box of comics. I grew up a poor, fat kid, was relentlessly teased and harassed back when nobody really cared about that. And yeah, I'd say going into my own mind and being part of my own little world kept me from committing suicide or bringing a gun to school and wasting a few kids. And so I owe comics as a medium for that. And I love people. I have a heart for people, and I want to entertain them. I want to tell stories that I'm passionate about, that they enjoy. I love seeing people's face light up when they read something I did or see a piece of art that I made. And I cherish each and every person who's willing to give me their hard-earned currency in exchange for something that I might not even care about, but I made it, and they see value in it. And so I'm eternally grateful for that. And I will always take care of them first as a creative.
And Anthony, not paying attention, got skipped over. I guess we'll give you another try.
Thanks. I just want to say, Eric, that if I've ever insulted you, please, I'm sorry. Don't take it out on me, man. I kept seeing you from that movie. What was it? Billy Madison, where he's putting the lipstick on. The guy calls him up and says, "Look, I'm sorry, I called you the names."
Anthony, you were saying why you love comics?
Yes, I love comics because I was like Sim. I was born with lead in my veins and nightmares in my brains, and it's been the only thing that's ever really I get high off of creating. I'll tell you straight up, and I've done drugs for long periods of time, but there's nothing like world building. And I mean, I love drawing. Don't get me wrong, I do. I love drawing, and there's something to that. It soothes me. But creating, world building, man, I get high off of that. There is nothing that gets me higher than to build a physics, a reality, a universe, all that stuff. To build that and make it cohesive and make it come together in a story, in a vehicle to which I can tell. Nothing. There's no high on the planet like that. So I'm all in. Oh, and I don't want to thank Ian and JD and Josh, man. Had a really good time talking with y'all guys.
All right, guys. We only have 9 minutes left on the show, so we're going to do the most important thing we can do.
So you're muted, Variant. We can't hear you.
Variant.
I was going to bring me in. That's the most important thing.
The most important thing we can do is not hear you.
Yeah. No, I just want to thank you all for showing up. And I was honored to be a part of the show and bring you guys together. And I think that we made a lot of progress here, even with just the people that we had.
Can I just break in real quick? JD,
Sure.
Did you get to say why you love comics?
No, I didn't. I just thought they're gonna wrap it up, but it's cool.
I wanted to hear from JD.
This is what happens when Varian steps in and makes a mess of everything. I was going to say this has been a very good panel. JD is going to end this. I want him to start our next phase where we also tell people where to buy our books because we only have 8 minutes now, Varian, to do this. So JD also at the end of it where they can follow you and the shows you do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I come from New York City, rough and tumble. I come from the hood. It got me out of the hood. It got me out of that headspace where there are only very few possibilities. It showed me a bigger aspect of the world where you can go out and do different things, achieve different things, and just be a better person. And that's why I love comics. And I got into it really early. I got into it like really early. And I mean, I started writing very early. And I just got into that escapism. I love comics. I love the process. And guys, listen, I don't know you guys. You understand? But I want to know you guys. I want any of you who want to come on my show, who want to be interviewed. I do one-on-ones. I don't do 3-on-1s. I just do one-on-one. You want to come on, reach out, man. I will have you on, and we will have a conversation about you and about your process. All right? So thank you.
Where can they follow you?
Oh, sorry about that. I can be found on Facebook under JD Calderon, the Oswald Chronicles, Tall Tales Online, Twitter, JD Calderon, and then that's pretty much it. But I would try to hit me up on Facebook mostly.
Sim, where can they find you and follow you?
You can find me on The Artist Sim or Red Label Comics on Facebook. I'm on Twitter under Simon Sympathier. I'm on Facebook under Simon Sympathier as well. You can find my book that's going to be closing in the next few days because I'm waiting for the confirmation for the proof. So it's called Blood Hunt. And you see that little comment you highlighted there? Back Doc Salon? You should, because it's going to have a crossover with Blood Hunt in 2021. And right now, after that, I have Tales from the Nadverse relaunching, which is a collection of all my old short story of Nat the Merc, which is getting ready to relaunch the new series of Nat the Merc. So check it out. It's all on my Twitter. And thank you for coming. This was a really cool conversation, and would be fun to do it again.
Definitely. Okay, we're gonna go back to Ian.
I used to do reviews for comicbook.com. I'm in the middle of writing stuff. I don't know when or if that'll ever come to Kickstarter. Hopefully one day. You can find me at all social media. My name's Ian Yarrington. So 1R. Yeah, Facebook probably is the best, but Twitter sometimes, not a lot. So yeah, hit me up on Facebook.
Varian, you came in. Tell them.
Yeah, you can find me on Indie Vault. IndieVault.com is the website that I founded. Indie Vault TV on Roku and Indie Vault Radio on Android, iOS, and Alexa. Sorry, I had to whisper because she's always listening. As well as my publishing company, Last Call Comics. We do a show every week here on Indie Vault, every Tuesday night at 9. Wednesday night at 9 is Geekgasm with Lola and Stephanie Menard, and then Thursday morning, Indie Vault Breakfast Buzz, and now we got Friday, The Art of War. So lots of stuff going on Indie Vault. Always pushing indie comics, always trying to push the industry forward, and I'm trying to help however we can. Yeah, that's where you can find me at on Twitter at kid_V or Varian Grant on Facebook and all that good stuff.
And Josh, that way.
Oh, okay, here I am. Thanks. My name once again is Josh Dahl. That's Dahl. I can be found on most social media platforms just by searching Josh Dahl and find the one that looks like me or seems like me, or meet one of the other ones. I don't care. My comics can, I believe, still be found at joshdahl.rocks, and try joshdahl.rocks on Instagram. And are we plugging, Rob? Is this where we plug?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I've taken a break from comics to focus on my other career of finance, and I'm proud to say I passed one of my last tests on Friday. So that's going. So I have my new goal of helping all of my fellow creators like yourselves fund your projects. I don't know if that's a thing I can do for everybody, but I want to try. Come find me. Talk to me. Also, I want to continue this conversation with all of you and anyone. Come find me online. I want to talk to all of my new friends.
Cool. Thank you.
And Anthony and Varian, check your messenger.
Okay. All right. Let me go check. I'm putting everybody in the green room as we
check your messenger. My name is Anthony Figueroa. I had a fun time. I want to thank also Varian and Rob for putting this on. I think this is good for the industry. I think getting people together to actually talk instead of just listening to what's going on out there and express themselves is good for us to come to a good middle point. You can find me on any of the social media platforms that are Kid Destructo, or you can look up Anthony Figueroa. Also, I also have a book which is in demand right now on Indiegogo called God's Hand. You can currently get that, or you can find me on my website, which is www.kiddestructo.com. Also, I got to say, back Doc Salem. Doc Salem is also in demand right now. And I think there's another book about farts or something. I don't know. One of those. I'm sure somebody's going to tell you about it. But that too, yeah, that's a book too. But I had a good time, man. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Backstage you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Hodson. I am at Dreaded Dinosaur on all the social medias. You can find all my artwork at erichodson.com. And I plead and ask for you to go over to the Webtoon app and subscribe to Dreaded Dinosaur Man. It is my own IP. I'm also the creator of Roddy Piper and the Kilted Avenger. And look for that coming soon to Pro Wrestling Tees website. And this was a very wonderful conversation. I was glad it was edifying. And I enjoyed meeting all these new cats. And yeah, I forget the name of the guy, but the moderate with the show. Yeah, send me an invite. I'll come on anybody's show. Talk to you guys later. And I'll see you guys probably on Tuesday night on Indie Vault, as I'm always usually lurking around.
All right, thanks for being here. Eric. Appreciate it.
All right, so that was the show, Varian. Do you think we achieved some neutral ground?
You know, I'm hoping that we did. I think everybody made some really good points, and the best part about it is, I mean, in light of what's going on today, I'm glad that these guys are able to kind of peacefully come together. They still have disagreements. They're, that maybe everybody doesn't see eye to eye, but now maybe the other side understands just a bit more what the other side, how the other side feels, and that's all we can hope for. It's that small crack of understanding that can actually lead to some type of unification. I did like what the one poster said earlier, INDIE United. There's a point where we have
felt INDIE right.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, I think it has something to do with that. Before we go though, you want to talk about the show that we're going to be launching?
Yeah, we're going to be doing this constantly, where we're going to be tackling tough topics, and we're going to have debates. Well, even discussions. Debates are the wrong word. You guys see people getting very passionate, and we love that. Me and Varian want people to be passionate, but we're also going to be bringing out people who might have made mistakes, and me and Varian will be keeping them honest. That's the goal. Me and Varian are going to be asking the hard questions. I'll be the devil. He'll be the other side of the coin, the nice guy. I'll be asking the harder questions. He'll be like, well, you could do something, right? He's nicer than I am. He just is. He always sees the other side. Because I figure if you put someone on, we've all seen what happens to Marcel when I'm in the chat room. Imagine if I'm face to face and there's no one there to like that. That's why Varian has to have the controls. Today I would have muted everyone. You're all going to be quiet.
Yeah.
Listen, no. I really appreciated what they did today. You think this was a hard one to control? Wait until we talk about fan art being theft. No, I'm kidding. We won't get that for a couple weeks, but we will be exploring different types of topics to get people to, because this industry needs conversation. We don't need shouting. And I appreciate everyone who came on today. By the way, you can find me at mranderson.com and my amazing book, Cat Dad and Supermom, wherever the hell it is. There it is. Cat Dad and Supermom on Indiegogo now by going to catdadandsupermom.com and learn morals with farts. But yeah, we're going to be doing this show from now on. For now, we said Sundays until things get a little more serious in life, right? Where cons come back.
Yeah.
4 p.m.
And we're going to do that. And we're going to also do we're gonna have some other people on. I know Doc Saylor wants to come on, so we're gonna have him on. But before that, I have one last thing we got to do. We need to check in and get a report about how things are going in the world.
Oh, let's hope it's okay.
We have a special correspondent wants to come in and tell us how things are going in the world.
I hope it's okay.
Let's find out how things are going.
Terrible things are going on in the world right now. Absolutely terrible.
True. I do want to point out 27,000 listeners. Is that a record?
That is a record. I'm gonna get an email, nasty little email, telling me I need more money. All right, guys. You guys all stay safe, stay healthy. We will see everybody back here Tuesday night at 9 for Indie Vote Live. Me, Randy Zimmerman, and the usual gang of misfits. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.